What's up, y'all? Sean Marshall in the house with the Reinvent Yourself 7 Summit. And if this is your first time watching, let me just kind of share what this is about. This is an opportunity for you to build emotional resilience, to really hone in on your confidence and intuition. And so with that being said, I'm excited for today's guest, Lois Hollis. Lois is an expert on emotions, but specifically shame and guilt, and how shame and she doesn't say shame and guilt. She says shame, guilt, and how shame, guilt really affects every area of our life. She says that Lois Hollis shifts our opinion on relentless shame, guilt to give us a new way to be shame, guilt free. So Lois, I'm excited to jump in today. How about I put the spotlight on you and have you introduce yourself? And I'd love to hear about your story. Like, how did you get really honed in on shame, guilt as a career path?
That's a good question. It wasn't like I was 20 years old and I said, oh, I'm going to be a shame guilt educator. I was only interested in helping people. And looking back on my life, that was my MO. So obviously I went into nursing and did very good at that. I helped create one of the first kidney hemodialysis units in the country. And that started a lecture series. And I came to learn that I just find new things. I see a need, and if nobody's doing it, then I take up the need. I didn't know this until later on in my life. I just was working on automatic and loved new things and finding new ways of doing things. I was very successful, even though I had a very abusive childhood. Now, I could spend quite a long time on that, but suffice it to say, I don't remember everything. However, I do remember someone breaking my neck, sitting on my head. Obviously, I died and God sent me back. That's somewhere around 5 or 6 years old. But I didn't remember that somewhere in my 40s.
Interesting.
Well, that's what trauma does to us. We forget. How else can we survive? But I do remember being, I stuttered. I was very dyslexic, but in 1950 or so, I'm 70, I'll be 79 next week. Anyway, they didn't know about dyslexia or learning disabilities. And I was told to read in front of the class. So I would take my book.
This was what age, or how old were you?
First grade.
Okay.
Like with the holy nuns. And I had Irlen syndrome, IRLEN syndrome, which I finally realized what I had when I was at that age. That's the syndrome. I don't know if you're aware of it, no. But all the words move. They just move. You know how you read a book and the words are stationary? Well, a person with Irlen syndrome, they move, so you can't read.
Almost like your eyes are going in and out of blurry or something like that.
No, it's not blurry. The words actually move. Like one sentence goes below the other sentence, and then the bottom sentence goes to the top.
Wow.
It's impossible to read. It isn't blurry. Well, for me, it wasn't. But I just remember all these words didn't make a sentence, and then the other sentence appeared above it. So and then I turned to the teacher, the nun, and I said, how do you make the word stop moving?
Oh, boy.
Which is, right? Pow! I get slapped in the face because they think I'm a real funny person.
Oh, boy.
Well, 1950, what do you expect, right?
Yeah.
So I was sent to the bottom of the class. So next day they say, read. I went, okay. I turned my book upside down because I'm very creative. I mean, like, if it doesn't work this way, right? I really remember this. I turned it upside down and they still moved. So the teacher, the nun, Catholic school, another hit in the face.
Boy.
And so my parents were called in and they said that they were a Catholic school and they would keep me in school because they are Catholic. But I have to sit at the back of the class. And they said that you have an idiot child who cannot read and cannot write. So there I was. And they said, don't expect anything from her and don't try to do homework with her because she's unteachable.
Wow.
I remember that. But you know, in the long scheme of life, it was wonderful because I was left alone. And after the near-death experience, I had, you know, other dimensions talking with me all the time. I just knew things. I passed every test. Of course, it was backwards. I remember getting into nursing school, I had 99% wrong. Because I'm
99%
dyslexic.
wrong.
Wrong. Because I can't, I'm so dyslexic that I can't understand it. However, my sister was in nursing school. So, and she was very brilliant. So they said, we'll accept her on probation because her sister is so smart. And I became the top person in the school, in the class because of my skills. Anyway, somehow I managed, and I will share with you what really helped me is tap dancing.
Tap dancing.
I tap danced from like 8 or 9 through high school. And I think the movement, the left brain, right brain, became whole. And to prove that, the most exciting thing is I was accepted into University of Pennsylvania. As you know, that's an Ivy League school here in the United States. And
it's what school?
University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. That's an Ivy League school up there with Harvard.
Oh, Ivy League school. Right.
I was accepted. I went, oh my goodness, I'm smart.
So did the words stop from
Yes.
tap dancing? That helped to fix it? That's not something that you had to deal with after high school?
Well, somewhere in grade school, I started reading.
Yeah.
How,
wow.
I don't know. Or maybe God blessed me. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I don't know. All of a sudden, I'm reading. I didn't read all the great books in the world because it's an effort, but I just knew stuff. I'm in conversation with people say, how did you know that? I didn't know you read the New York Times. I said, well, everybody knows Israel's fighting with so-and-so. And they go, no, they don't. I just knew stuff. I just knew stuff. I didn't have to read. I can't explain it other than I just have this ability to know things. And I think God blessed me. Of course I read and I passed all my exams, but I always knew the answer.
Yeah, you said this before we chatted. I'd love for you to share this with the audience too. You helped, I'm going to butcher this, so sure. Correct me, but you helped, or you had a big part in creating the first dialysis machine, correct?
Dialysis machine and the protocol for placing patients on it in 1966.
And and this is what you were talking about with information. You were just kind of downloading the information essentially.
Right, and how to do stuff. And of course, that was, you know, I didn't do it alone. I was, you know, helping with the nursing and protocol and how to take care of patients and what worked mechanically and what didn't. I didn't invent the machine. I just told them what they should do. And it all worked.
How did you trust it? Like, did you always trust that information?
I never thought about not trusting it.
Okay, it was just what it was. You just knew, and there was no reason to second guess it.
I love a hamburger. I just love a hamburger. I don't question it. I mean, of course, I have good meat and all the other stuff, but I just love hamburgers, so I eat them. I mean, it's a knowing, of course I'd like to, fly or do this or that, but I know I can't. But, in day-to-day practicalities, I just know how to do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's in the medical world. It isn't like I can invent a tool for somebody. My husband's great with tools. I have no idea about tools, I,
Yeah.
I'm very limited, but I really know what I know, but I don't know everything, if you know
Of
what I'm saying.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I can't do tech. Okay. I can't do it. I can do emails, but I can't, my mind can't go there. So I have
Can't go to a
wonderful
text.
tech work, like,
Oh,
putting
tech.
everything on
Gotcha.
Facebook and LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
I know what to put, but I don't know how. And you can teach me, but I'll forget the next day.
Mm,
I don't have the skill for that. I understand it. And if you're there with me, I can do it, but I won't do it alone. So I have a very good friends that just do my technology for me.
right. Right.
I can cut videos. I went to film school.
Yeah, you did. And I forgot to mention that in the beginning, in the intro, but yeah,
So
you went to film school.
yeah.
You,
So
you-
yeah, so there was a need for that. But I just want to clear the fact that the reason somewhere in my 40s and 50s, the traumas became worse. The only way that I can explain it is that I could not go outside when it was daylight. I could only go outside at night or in the evening, because anybody with brain traumas understands what I'm saying. If you have a head injury, you really can't be out in the sun. And that didn't really, because all my baby pictures and all my high school pictures and all my pictures, I have a hat on. And they
mm,
go, and we go into the beach, oh, Lois needs an umbrella. I mean, I just remember, because I couldn't go out in the sun because of all the brain traumas, but I did not know them at that point. I just knew that I was sensitive to the light. And then when I got older, it got even worse. So
interesting.
now I can go to the beach. I have a wonderful person that puts all the problems back together, and I have a head that functions in the sun.
How freaking cool is that? I mean, you were sort of plagued with that your entire life, and then
Yes,
and then the trauma caught up to you in your 40s. It
40s,
got
50s. I
40s,
got
50s.
depressed,
You got depressed. Yeah.
um, 100% down, like almost bedridden. And it's like, are you kidding me? I'm the tap dancer. I tap dance on stage since I'm like 7, 8 years old. And here I can't get out of bed because I'm so depressed.
Wow.
And I was depressed because I was depressed. If that makes sense to people.
It makes sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a site. It's like a cycle,
Yeah.
like a spiral.
So I felt like I shouldn't be on this world because I'm not good enough.
Wow. Well, so what was it that you went through in your 40s and 50s to heal the trauma? What was that like?
Well, when I felt that I should commit suicide, I think I probably should talk to somebody. This is not going good. So I did speak with a therapist, and therapy has its place. And, after a few sessions, I was like, okay, I'm a little better, but not really better. Not better the Lois way. Lois
Right.
was always, dancing, singing, and happy and inventing, and that wasn't Lois right now.
Mm.
And my physicians told me I only had a few years to live because
Wow.
my kidneys were failing. I was mid in the low filtration rate. My kidneys, my liver had a fatty liver because of all the toxins, and I had scoliosis so badly that my breathing was poor, and I had a leaky valve, mitral valve prolapse. So yes, they were right, but I said I just haven't found the way to heal yet, because that's what I do. I always find a way to do things, and I just haven't
Right.
found the way yet. And I had 30 years of migraine headaches, And that was medication I took because of the migraine. But duh, if you have all these traumas in your brain, a broken jaw and a broken neck, you're going to have some pain later on in life. So that's where all the liver problems and the kidneys problems came in. So I was recommended to this one doctor who lived way across the country. And I visited my friend who sent me to her doctor. And he said he could help me. And I start laughing because like everybody said, I'm dying. How is that possible?
Oh boy.
Yeah. He said, you're not going to die from all your bone problems, but your heart is not working. And I'm going, I know. Everybody tells me that it's not working. And so he did some adjust. He's a chiropractor healer. And he did some adjusting. And I went, oh my goodness, that's how I can breathe. And I start walking around Sedona, the mountains and hills. And then he said, I can help you, but you need to move close because you have so many injuries. And I went, okay, I'll think about that. Because he's the only person that I could live. Every doctor said you're going to be dead soon.
So that's just so wild.
So I went back home to my home, and about 2 days later, my shoulder, my head hurt so bad. Like, oh, I wish that doctor was there because he can just do clunk and I feel better. But he's not here. And I went to my own therapist and they go, I can't touch you. I have no idea how to fix you. You're just too calm. I've never seen anybody with jaw problems, head problems, and shoulder problems like you. And I don't see how I can help you. I even got thrown out of gym class. I got thrown out of I signed up for a yoga class. I went, oh, yoga can help me. They asked me to leave.
At what age?
In my 40s, 50s.
40s.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I was so crooked. I was like crooked.
You never know. Oh, you never know that now.
I'll show you pictures. I was crooked, like
Okay.
my neck, and I couldn't move it. Anyway, so nobody would, I mean, seriously, and then I went to the gym because my daughters all went to the gym, and I went to the hot sauna because, you detox. It's a good thing. Well, I passed out in sauna and I hit my nose and there's blood in the sauna. And I had a quick run out because they wanted to take me to the hospital. Anyway, so I'm telling you some really true things that it was bad.
Yeah, you went through the ringer in 40s,
Yeah.
50s. It really caught up to you.
Yeah, as it happened. So.
And you're nursing this whole time?
No, I was too ill.
Okay, I got you. So you had to leave your career to sort of deal with all this that was going on, all this trauma that was manifesting itself in all these different ways.
Yeah, if you can't walk and talk and sing, you can't be working.
Can't help people. Yeah.
Anything, you go to the doctors and they say, well, you got a year left, maybe, So anyway, long story short, my kids are in college. One graduated. I don't need to be home. They're off in another state, doing their thing. I was divorced. There was no reason to stay other than some guilt. But I said, it's either me, go to this doctor who lives 3,000 miles away, or stay here and die. And I remember sitting in the kitchen in the rocking chair with the two cats. What should I do?
Holy moly. Thinking maybe this is it.
Well, I mean, obviously, but someone says they can help me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said that to me before. And I'm a nurse forever, and my ex-husband was a physician. I was in charge of the the wives club too. So I know doctors. That's what I'm trying to say. I know
Right.
all that. We're friends of friends, and nobody wants to touch me. Nobody. They just say, no, you go to another person. You need a specialist. You need an expert. So anyway, I moved cross country. And I moved to Sedona, which was wonderful for me because I found out so many things. And that's where I learned about shame guilt. And because, it's a very intellectual place with emotions and so forth and so on. And I saw this
Yeah.
doctor, healer, chiropractor. He's very, very unique. You know, he does things that other people can't do, obviously. So I was healing, and I learned how to, I stopped going to therapy because I said, I can, instead of talking to my therapist, I'm talking to myself. And I did not know about the inner child work, but that's what I was doing spontaneously. Hi, depression, how are you? Hi, anxiety, how are you? And I would talk to them and make friends with them. And I start healing. And
Wow. Did somebody guide you through that, or was that intuitive?
well, there was one group in Sedona that was doing that a little bit, but they weren't doing as strong as I was, and they weren't doing the inner critic. And I have the gift of vision, inner vision. I can see things. I didn't not know, everybody don't see, but a lot of people are seeing things anyway. So I could do that myself, and nobody was doing the inner critic, but that was the main part. How could you not do the inner critic? So I healed a lot, and that's when I found out in group therapy, said, what do you do about shame, Lois? And I go, ah, what an odd word. Like we would all say, right? What is shame? What an odd word. I go, I don't know. And I have an investigative mind. My mind won't stop, Sean, unless they figure it out. So I was haunted by this word shame. So I went to the library. This is in 1999. There wasn't internet. So the only book I could find was Bradshaw's book. And it said it was a sickness of the soul. So I got to learn more and more about it. And then I finally learned, Sean, that shame, guilt is its own thing. And it turns everything to negative. And I was like so happy because I didn't have to go to therapy for anxiety or depression or anger or confidence. I just had to get rid of shame, guilt, energy. And I did. And I changed like in weeks. And people came to me and said,
Wow.
Lois, what are you doing? And I said, I'm kicking shame, guilt out, and I'm talking to myself. Can we do that? And I went, I guess so. They said, well, let me know what you're doing. So I taught them, and they too got well. Like,
Wow.
been in therapy forever. And someone said, Lois, you should charge for this. I said, charge for what? I'm just talking to you about shame, guilt. And it's easy. You just get rid of it and everything else works. Okay, there's a process to it, but it's
Of course.
doable. It's doable. So someone invited me to a lecture. I went, oh, great. I love to talk. So I went to the lecture and was talking and talking. And then my friends raised their hand. They say, Lois, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see what you see. I says, what do you mean you don't see what I see? Don't you see? And it dawned on me that all my life I have this inner vision, but that's not normal. I mean, a lot of people do have it today, and it's getting healthier. But
what do you mean by inner vision?
When I say, oh, hi, depression, how are you? I see depression inside of me as a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. And I talk to her. Okay, I'm not schizophrenic. We're telepathic. You know, telepathy. And then I remembered in my childhood that there were beings that talked to me as well. I didn't know that until then. That's how I knew things. They were my teachers.
Like, what do you call them? Do you call them anything like spirit? Is like spirit guide or
whatever you want to call
whatever.
them, or me in another dimension.
Right, right.
But it was telepathic. I remember now, every day after school, I'd run upstairs to my bedroom and sit down on the floor, and I would have this communion with other worldly beings. And my mother would call me for dinner, and I would go down and have dinner and do homework or whatever I was going to do. And they call it a joke, you know, because Lois is doing homework, you know, the stupid one.
Right, right.
But it was okay. They left me alone because I was unteachable.
Wow.
But anyway, so I had my own little world, and I had teachers. So
Yeah,
finally,
wild. Of
somewhere around 50, 60, I'm understanding my life, but I took it for granted, Sean.
course.
That's what I'm saying. And how, why would I not?
Of
I w-
course. I mean, it's interesting how many years it took to circle back. Not that that's good or bad. It just is what it is. But you had this foundation of being able to communicate with other beings. Maybe it was yourself, like you said, and you're getting guidance in that way. And in some way, that probably was a saving grace for you, given what you were the circumstances that you grew up in.
and I was allowed to do that because people left me alone because I was unteachable. How wonderful.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, when you look at it from this viewpoint, but
Right.
the shame guilt I accumulated because of that was huge. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I was a shunned kid,
Right.
except
So
for
you
tap
went,
dancing. Except for
yeah,
tap
except for
dancing.
yeah, which maybe fixed part of your brain, which is pretty
I'm
cool.
show it. I'm show because I tap dance all the time.
You still
Like,
do you still tap dance?
oh yes, I do.
Wow.
But I turned it into rollerblading.
Rollerblading. You mentioned that you rollerblade.
Yeah.
So
So
Lois, how did you I want to ask this too, if you don't mind. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But you said somebody I think you said someone set on you when you were a kid, and that's how your neck broke. Who set on you?
I don't want to say that who did it, but
Okay. That's fine.
that
I
was
respect.
somewhere in 40s. In my 40s, it's interesting because people, they go to a lot of hypnosis and things to find out memories. Your memories come back when they were supposed to, and that's why I'm not upset that I didn't know anything till 40s because I wasn't mature enough. So I can only tell my story, and I think I've
Right.
been very lucky to have it be a natural process. I remembered when I was mature enough to handle it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Matt, I just
That's
can't imagine.
You're right. You can't. Memories get pulled out of you too quickly. But this is my journey. It isn't everybody else's journey, and other people have other experiences. But I can just speak for myself, and I'm grateful that I didn't know all the traumas that I did go through, and I'm still remembering some because my jaws were broken and I've had problems with my teeth and all. And I married my chiropractor. P.S.
The same guy?
Yeah, the same guy.
Oh, that's awesome. Is he
So,
still practicing chiropractor?
oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
quite impressive. But anyway, my upper palate was broken in my mouth, and it caused all the jaw and thing to drop. So anyway, we just fixed that last month, and now I can eat better and everything. So it's been a long journey,
Wow.
but like every bone in my body was broken. I was thrown down cement
Jeez.
hallways and everything. So anyway, but I found out that I also have the gift of seeing too, where the body needs to be fixed. So I help him there. I adjust him, he adjusts me. So we have a good thing going.
That is a good thing.
It's a miracle. What a
Yeah.
story. Of course, we love each other too. So
Wow. So how did you you started self-studying before the internet. You're sitting in the library reading about shame, guilt. You start rapidly transforming your own
life,
relationship. Yeah, exactly, your life, and then you start helping other people. And this has grown. You went to film school in the
after the
60s.
lecture, when someone says, Lois, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I go, you don't? Oh, I got to fix that. I guess I'll make a movie. How do you make a movie? Well, in Sedona, they have their own film school.
Mm,
So I applied for it, and it was beyond my budget. And I went, oh, geez, I don't know what to do. So on my way home, I stop at my mailbox, and another true story. I had mail, and I opened this one, and I'm going, where did this come from? It was a stock that my former husband, my ex-husband, and I owned in marriage, and they were dissolving the company, and they had to give out monies to their shareholders. So that's how I got a few $1,000s for a
Wow.
stock that I didn't even forgot about, that had to be, I had to receive the proceeds from the stock that I owned because the company was dissolving itself. And then I put that in the bank and I paid for film school. That's the true story.
And so at this point, you're going into film school, like shame, guilt on your mind. This is what you want to do. And
Well, mainly to show the characters that I see,
yeah,
anxiety, depression, out of discord into harmony, that film. And it was, I can't remember his name, that did inner child work in the beginning. And it, one of, somebody started a group on that, and then I just started it, and then I got more involved in it. And then I said, we need a film to show people how these parts of us actually are real. And so I had kid actors to be each different emotion.
it's just wild. This is wild because when we met, I asked you if you mentioned this, and I said there's a movie like that called Inside Out, and you blew my mind because you did your film prior to Inside Out coming out.
Yeah, it was early 200. And
Ah,
and the main one was the inner critic, because he is the shame guilt producer. And that's what's missing in a lot of inner child work. It's great to talk to your emotions. It's great to make friends with your inner child, but you've got to talk to the boss. The boss is the inner critic. And so that was the key thing that I offer to my patients, my clients rather. And that's how we learned how to become friends with our inner critic. My inner critic now changed his job. He thought of it. I did. You can't tell him because that's narcissism. So my inner critic, his name is King, and he goes around finding beautiful podcast hosts like you. And I just give things. It's like magical. So
wow.
I don't, my inner critic is my helper, my supporter.
Yeah, you did a great, I watched the one film. You have two films. I watched I'm Good. And you did a great example of talking to your inner critic in that film and having a conversation with your
Oh
inner
yeah,
critic.
the third one, that's a good one. That's the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk about some of these emotions. I love the way that you put all the emotions together and how shame, guilt affects them, and like what the opposite of some of these emotions are. And we talked a little bit, we can talk about this today as well, but actually let's start here. You when we spoke the last time, you brought up David Hawkins. Like, I don't know what the name of that is, but he rates or ranks
map of consciousness.
Emotions. Okay.
It's called the map of consciousness.
The math of consciousness. Thank you. Yeah. And he rates each of your feelings or emotions, right? And on from the lowest energetic one, which is guilt, shame, all the way up to the highest, which is enlightenment, right? And can you talk about that? I think that'd be a great base for us to dive in and start talking about some of the emotions.
Well, when I lived in Sedona, David Hawkins lived in the area, and I got to know him and his work. But I didn't put two and two together until recently, because I'm trying to help people understand how devastating the shame guilt energy is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so devastating. But you know how you just don't get it until you get it? And when I remembered David Hawkins, I went back and looked at his map of consciousness, and I went, oh my goodness, he tells us that shame guilt is 10 or 20, it depends on what graph you're looking at, but it is the lowest energy that a human can possess and still be alive. Now, if that doesn't scare you or entice you, or you try to get out of it, then I give up. I give up, because that is factual. That is evidence proof that shame guilt is the lowest state to be in. And if you're in that, you got to get the heck out.
Yeah.
You got to call your friend. Some people are too shameful to call suicide watch. I mean, seriously, or go to the store or call, Walmart or Target or somebody. You're going to talk, you need to get out of the frequency. And by talking to another person, even though you don't know them, you'll get out of the frequency. It's like that. Because if you stay in that frequency, there's no way out. So you have to get out of the frequency. And how do you get out of it? You talk to another human.
Yeah, and you're saying it doesn't even have to be talking about what's going on, right? You're saying connecting with another human and
Hi,
having a
how are
conversation.
you? When is
Yeah.
your store open? I mean, it just gets you out of the frequency. And if you don't believe me, try it. I mean, you don't have to be your best friend, because sometimes you're shameful to talk to your best friend, because how can you be a best friend if you're so guilty? I mean, it's one of the worst energy field you can be in.
I'm looking down to pull this chart up that you sent me. What's your, if for somebody listening who's in that energy, shame, guilt energy, first of all, how would you identify that you're in that?
I'm no good. I want to commit suicide. I'm better off. The world's better off without me. And I was there. I was there. And people say, oh, that doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't make sense. Shame, guilt is a fake reality. Okay? It's a fake reality. Of course it doesn't make sense. Duh. I mean, you make me feel even more shameful by saying that.
Right.
You don't understand what I'm talking about. When you're in the shame, guilt, you don't know anything differently. And it's so close to suicide. And that's why I spend a lot of time on this, because suicide is such a high rate right now.
Yeah,
and
it
we
is.
have to get these people out of the shame, guilt energy. Okay, if you're feeling depressed, lonely, and you don't deserve to be here, that's bad. That's bad, because there is no forward motion. So I say to you, if you can feel regret, okay, I regret that, I ate that extra candy bar and I got sick and threw up, but I won't eat it again. It's a solution.
Right.
I regret I put money in the market and it went down and I lost money. Well, I'll get another job and I'll make more money. You have a solution. Shame, guilt has no solution other than to take yourself out of the world.
And that's the worst of the worst with shame, guilt, right? But there's like, are you saying that you can also experience, like, is there a continuum of shame, guilt, like a spectrum? Like you can be experiencing depression, but not suicidal. Like suicidal would be the worst end of it, or?
The way I look at shame, the way I look at emotions is that each emotion has, each negative emotion carries shame, guilt energy. Now, it's up to you. How many shame, guilt experiences have you had that you become so shame, guilt ridden? Now, if you're hurt, you get a little shame, guilt. But if you have suicidal thoughts, you got a lot of shame, guilt.
Right.
So look at emotions that way. Regret has some shame, guilt in it, but not as much as suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Anger has shame, guilt in it, but not as much as hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety has shame, guilt in it, but not as much as hatred. Do you see what I'm going on this? And I have a list of each emotion, how much shame, guilt that carries, something like David Hawkins did with his map of consciousness.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I'm looking to pull that up for you so I can just share some of that stuff. I love that.
And I can send you my chart, which I haven't done. I can email that to you. I have a chart.
I would love for you to. I would love for you to share that.
So what I'm saying to you is that our wonderful DSM Statistical Manual of Medical Disorders and how they name emotions, negative emotions, are just saying how much shame guilt they have in them. Hurt has less emotion, less shame guilt in it than anger and hatred. It goes up the scale: hurt, anxiety, anger, depression, hatred, revenge, etc. Fear is the worst. Fear is a double dose of shame guilt. Fear is a prison. You're in a prison of shame guilt, and you got to get out of that. You just got to get out of fear. Eat a cookie, make a cake, talk to a friend. You got to get out of fear because it's shame guilt, and that leads to suicide too. And that's again so important today. The fear.
Right. Yeah. What else? What else on fear?
Fear is a double dose of shame guilt. Like shame guilt's bad, and fear is double it. How bad is fear? And what do we hear in our news? Fear, 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 fear.
Oh, it's all fear.
That's all. So when you see fear, when you feel fear, you say shame guilt out. It's not of you. I feel depressed, but depression is much better than fear. Fear, shame guilt, you got to kick it out. Kick it out.
What's your technique for getting out of fear?
No. You just say no, and you get out of it. You eat a cake. You read my books. You read my readings. You talk to a friend who's not fearful.
That's the key. Don't talk to a fearful friend.
Or unless you're helping them. But anyway.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying. You got to get out of it.
Right.
Go sing a song, listen to music, I have readings on my website. Now is the time. And they're printable, just print it out. And these are readings that God talks, I'm his secretary. He talks, I write words. And these words are in another dimension. So what it does is brings you out of the shame guilt lower dimension, because these words have a higher vibration just by reading these words.
I like that. Brilliant.
And it's free. It's free. Just press print and you got the words.
I'm happy to link that when we send this out. I know we're linking some other stuff, but I'm happy to link that too. I think that's important.
That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to understand it all about shame guilt, and we can go into that, how it is and why it is. Just get out of it. It serves nothing. It serves no good. It's an outside force that's put upon humanity, like a computer virus comes into your computer.
Talk about the distinction between shame and guilt.
Okay, now when the culture and also psychology say shame guilt is a feeling that you're no good. And guilt is a feeling of you did something wrong. Well, I'll agree with that, but does it help me heal?
Right.
No, it separates my brain. Now, we have two nervous systems. We have involuntary and a voluntary, or an unconscious and a conscious. Shame guilt energy operates on the unconscious, involuntary mindset. Guilt is on the conscious mind, but it's the same energy, like a coin. Yeah, you have heads and tails. It's still a coin, right? You have heads on one side, heads and tails, heads on one side and tails on the other side. But it's still a coin.
Right.
And that's the same thing with shame guilt. Now, why do I make that so important? Because I have to get rid of the shame. I have to get rid of the guilt. And then your mind doesn't know what to do. You're split. We got to be more focused. So shame, guilt, energy. I don't know what else to call it. If we had a word to say it, but I just put the words together so we can get our mind together. Now, the reason that these people make things of this sort is because that's how medicine or medical billing and insurance and tech and reporting is in our world today. If I have a virus in my brain, I call it meningitis. If the same virus is someone's heart, they call it carditis. If the same virus is in their kidneys, they call it nephritis. If the same virus is in their thyroid, they call it thyroiditis. If it's in your elbow, it's called bursitis. Do you see where I'm going with this? But it's
Yeah.
the same virus, and you use the same medicine or antibiotic to kill it.
Mm.
So that's where it gets crazy, right? Your mind goes in all the, oh, I have a carditis, I have nephritis, I have meningitis. Well, yeah, they're all very serious. And the more meningitis is much more serious than bursitis in your elbow, but it's the same energy, it's the same bacteria, and it's treated the same.
Interesting.
So it's shame, guilt, energy. And it's a foreign invasion. Now, some of my hosts have been wonderful like you, and they call it different names. Would you like to hear the list that they call it?
Let's hear it.
The shame, guilt leech, because it is a leech.
Right.
It robs you of your power. And the most amazing thing, Sean, when you get to release the shame, guilt energy, you get powerful.
Love that. Yeah.
That's how you get power. You don't keep on, lifting the barbell and all this stuff. And you're going to, you just get rid of the shame, guilt, and you become powerful. Because remember, I didn't go to the gym at all. And I became very strong once I was getting rid of the shame, guilt energy. Did I get rid of it all? No, I'm still working.
Still working on it. Yeah. But
yeah.
You got your power back.
I got my power back. You got that one right.
Yeah.
Some people call it the alien invader. Some people call it the vampire.
Mm.
And then some people say it's the evil wizard that messes with your mind. That's one of my friends who does mental health. It's true. It's an evil wizard. Now, the reason I call these names to shame, guilt, energy, to make us understand it's not some invisible emotion. It is a thing. It is a thing that's put upon us like a computer virus on our computer. Can you see a computer virus?
No.
But you sure can see what it does to you.
Right.
Your computer. That's shame, guilt, energy. You can't see it. I make it visible in my films.
Right.
But you see what it does to you. It makes you depressed, unhappy, sad, suicidal.
Yeah. And I like what you say about it. You need to shine a light on it.
And you know what light is? Knowledge.
Knowledge. Right.
Light is knowledge. That's the real definition of light. So that's why I make myself called an educator, because it's about educating people to another reality of shame, guilt, energy. And it works because we've been dealing with this since Adam and Eve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we should have thought of something by now. I mean, give me a break.
You talk about some of the, I want to just say some of these symptoms, because I think these are symptoms, right? Like how it shows up. You mentioned this in your film. I'm going to say a few of them, and then we can talk about the ones that we need to talk about. But we talked about depression already, talked a little bit about anger, anxiety, and then procrastination is a symptom of shame, guilt. Belittling somebody else, bullying somebody else, and then even begging is one that you mentioned in your film, and sarcasm, being a passive aggressive, and emotional neglect. So those are all symptoms of shame, guilt.
Exactly. And I like your word that you use, symptoms.
Yeah.
you're depressed, you have shame guilt. It's a symptom.
Right.
It's a symptom. It's not a disease.
Right.
It's not a mental illness. It's a symptom of shame guilt energy that you got to kick out.
But this is huge because how many people procrastinate? You know, it's so I can't tell you how many people write back to me from my audience and they just procrastinate. They're, you know,
But until they say, oh, it's shame guilt, then they can work on it. You can't work on procrastination mentally. I don't care how many, what do you call these tags you put on your wall or your
the
refrigerator?
sticky notes.
Sticky notes. Or put on your side. I did that too. Okay, it's going to help. Of course, it's going to help, but it's a fight. It's a fight, right? Every day it's a fight. I got to write. I got to do this. I got to.
Right.
And that doesn't bring joy.
Yeah, you're trying to willpower your way through.
And it works. And I'm not saying it doesn't. There's a lot of achievers out there doing great work, but they work really, really hard. And that was me. I worked really, really hard. And then I crashed. I did not know any better.
Right.
But once I learned, my goodness, I can actually enjoy more things. But once people understand that procrastination is shame guilt, then they have a way of getting rid of the procrastination.
Totally.
It goes away. I had let's see, last month, someone came to me and they said, I would love to talk with you, but I think I cannot be helped. And I go, oh, why do you say that? They said, I've been in therapy for 2 years for depression. And if someone tells me now a reason and a way to manage my depression, I'm going to shoot them. Because I don't want to manage my depression. I want to get rid of my depression. But no one tells me how. But maybe I'm just too far gone to get rid of the depression. And I said, you don't know the cause of depression. He said, yeah, my wife left me, my kids are miserable. You know, I go, no. Shame guilt is the reason for your depression. And once we get rid of the shame guilt that you're carrying, the depression will lessen, will go away completely. I said, in time it will, but at least you'll have a handle on it. And it's not about being depressed. It's about shame guilt.
Powerful.
And we did do sessions and he did very well.
Wait, and that's powerful. 2 years. So, and you said to me offline, you said essentially the opposite of depression is compassion. Is that correct? Yeah.
Because each emotion has a negative and a positive side. I'm not the only one that said that. Debbie Ford did many, many years ago, but she didn't explain it as to why our emotions click from negative to positive and positive to negative. And it's because of the shame guilt energy. Once shame guilt energy comes into us by someone saying, you stupid jerk, you know, you should have done better, that energy makes our compassion turn to depression, our intuition turn to anxiety, our passion turn to anger. I mean, it does them all. It doesn't, or it may just do the one that's most susceptible. But then when you get rid of the shame guilt energy, they all turn positive. It's like, wow.
Yes, and I want to make sure that the audience heard that. You said anxiety and intuition are tied together. Yes. They're the opposites. So if you're feeling, in your book, does it work the opposite? If you're feeling anxious, you're chronically anxious, does it work for you to shift into
intuition by getting rid of the shame guilt? Now, I can't tell you exactly where the shame guilt is that we need to get rid of. That's what I do, a little session with people, and I help them find it and release it. That's what I do. But what I'm doing here today is giving hope, real hope, that we can outlive shame guilt energy. Once we know it, shame guilt energy only has one problem, one defect. That's all it does. It dissolves in detection.
Yeah.
How
Dissolves
cool
in
is that?
detection.
Some
Yeah.
more knowledge. What did San Tzu say? Know thy enemy. Shame guilt is our only enemy in this world. And the more you know your enemy, the more you can fight it and get rid of it.
That's
Right?
powerful. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I teach and teach and teach. And then you're smart and you figure it out yourself.
Right. Right. And then you get to manage it and get rid of it on your own. You have the tool to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I help people along the line, of course, but I'm really after you taking care of yourself. But you need a little help. I mean, to learn how to do it, and then you're on your, you can do it yourself. Maybe you'll find a better way. You'll tell me.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, when we talked last week, I'm taking care of a friend's dog right now,
Okay.
and they left out a lot of details. I'll just say that.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of
And
like, yeah, I understand.
let's just say some important details. And I got angry last week about that. And it was bugging me. And you and I spoke, and you mentioned, anger and passion, and it shifted so fast for me. I was like, oh, yeah, I am feeling angry at her for not sharing everything that could have been
The
shared.
bad things that she didn't want to tell you, because she probably would have said no. Okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
will
no,
call you when
it could have been a no. It would have been a no had she shared everything. And I was just walking around kind of carrying it. And then we spoke, and I was like, yeah, I am being angry. And then I realized, no, I'm not being passionate either. And I just shifted like my mindset and started focusing on, what am I passionate about? What do I want to be passionate about? And then it shifted the whole thing. I had no more energy on it all week. And that was just really powerful. It was a really powerful shift. I was going to say something else. And you know what else it helped too, because you mentioned compassion. And I got to thinking, like, I'm being frustrated with her, and what if I shifted to compassion?
Yes.
And my girlfriend and I had a conversation about that, and she helped coach me into that too. And then we started playing with the different scenarios that could be true, instead of she did it on purpose, or she's a liar, or all this stuff that my mind was making up. And we shifted and said, what if she's feeling guilty? Or what if she's feeling shameful about this? I don't know it to be true, but what if she's feeling guilty or shameful about this?
Which is probably true.
And it just, like, it dissolved it. I just was like, I couldn't be angry anymore for myself. And then I couldn't even put that on her anymore, because I thought, because I had that thought, wow, what if she's feeling shameful about this? And it was like compassion. Boom. Here we go. Easy street.
And for your information, you probably know this because you've done a lot of work, is that there are people that are communicative experts, and and how to talk to a difficult person. They say, try to put yourself in their shoes, try to be compassionate for their life.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a technique that people use in communications. But
yeah,
I think it's stronger when you understand the shame guilt situation that's in it.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's that entity. Like, I could feel it in me, and it's like, I don't want that in me. I don't like this energy, and I don't like having that energy on somebody else either. And it's like realizing it just kind of opens up the ceiling. And that was my experience last week with this. Is it just instantly cleared out that energy and just got back to neutral.
Oh, thank you. That is beautiful, and it's such a good example of how valuable this light, this knowledge is.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It really is powerful. Let's do this. You have, I consider myself an expert on emotions, and then you are like a whole nother level with where you've gone with shame, guilt, and you have a wealth of information to share with people. I know you know that. I want to make sure that the people listening that are resonating with this can grab your contact info and what it is that you have to share. So I'm going to be linking a few things, but one of them is a free gift that you're offering. can you want to talk, we'll put a spotlight on that, and you
Well,
can talk a little bit about what you're giving away.
what people often ask me, where do I start? Because
Mhm.
Shane Guild is so wide, and my website has grown. I have 4 websites now, so it's growing. What I suggest is first to sign up for my newsletter. Now, with the
Yeah.
newsletter, you get the ebook, 500 questions, one answer. Now, you'll get 500 questions over a period of 3 months. About, I think I do 10 questions a week, but it's 500 different ways we shame ourselves or other people shame us. We have to know how people shame us. We have to know how we shame ourselves. And that is a very good way to be aware of shame guilt, because if you don't know your enemy at all, you'll never win.
Right.
And
Right.
we are all in a shame guilt war by authorities. Do this, do that, do that, do that. We're mindless victims. And shame
Totally.
guilt, we are all, including myself, in a shame guilt hypnosis.
Yeah. You mentioned
We
that.
are
Talk
in
about that.
we're in a shame guilt hypnosis because of the culture, our parents, our teacher, the church, the priests, the ministers, the pope, your ancestors. And it's not anyone's fault because that's how we're raised. Shame guilt is the deadliest weapon, the most powerful weapon that can be used upon humanity. And so
Wow. Can't
that is
can't you
why
see that?
that is why I became a shame guilt educator, because to me, nothing else works. If you don't understand shame guilt and how it plays in your life, you'll never conquer that depression. You'll never be, okay, I can't say never because people do achieve, but you never get to where you want to go. It's very difficult. Now, there are people that have overridden the shame guilt, not knowing they overrode it.
Mhm.
And so I'm saying that to be successful, you have to use my way. I'm just saying most people need to know what it is that's stopping them. And once they stop the obstacle like you did, it changes so quickly because it's a fake reality.
Yeah.
It's a fake reality. That's not who you are.
All right.
That's not, and it is the most dangerous. There is I won't go into detail, but South Africa, remember how they fought Bell so hard? They had all these resources and, tribal scenarios and support of each other and, a great nation, and it fell. It fell. Do you know what? There's an article. They used shame guilt to make it fall. Shame guilt brought South Africa down.
Like as a strategy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's wild. We've seen that play out in this country, in
You're
many
seeing
different
it played out
ways.
right now.
Yeah, we're seeing it play out right now. Exactly. We saw it
In
play out
fact,
with vaccines, the way that rolled out. And then it seemed like every hot button topic, that's how they deal with it is if you're not for, you could be on either side of this, but if you're not for gun control, then you hate people. Or if you're not doing abortion, then like you're whatever, you don't care about women. It's like, or the
it's
other
all
way.
shame guilt. It's all shame
Yeah.
guilt. And
Yeah.
since you mentioned vaccine, you should not get the vaccine for yourself. It's because you don't want to hurt other people. Oh man. Anyway, but
Yeah.
Yale did a study many years ago on how to guilt and shame people into getting the vaccine.
Yale did, really?
Yes.
When?
Yes.
When was that?
About 2, 3, probably 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
I can send that to you.
Please send that to me. Yeah, that'd be excellent.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there have been studies on how to guilt people, how to shame
Interesting.
people. And
That
this
doesn't
is
surprise me.
of course it doesn't.
They did such a good job. It
Of
was
course they did. It's Yale. What do you
professional,
expect? Right.
level 10, best possible way. They played a perfect game with it.
I know.
It was such a perfect game that before the vaccines came out, we could do an hour on this, but before they came out, the first month of COVID, I remember this very well. I had two clients. This is when I was running my fitness company, and I had two clients one morning after everyone left. These two stayed. The COVID had just came out. We were just made aware of it. We weren't shut down yet. And one of the guys said, you need to get the vaccine when it comes out. And the other one was like, kicked back and was like, maybe. And he's like, you're selfish. You're going to be killing people if you don't get it.
Exactly.
And this was a year, maybe a year and a half before it even came out.
Yeah. Well, that was the psychic mantra that was displayed everywhere, and it infiltrated you into the shame guilt hypnosis.
Powerful. Yeah, powerful. Okay. Please send me that when we wrap this up.
Yeah, shame guilt hypnosis.
Okay.
In fact, one of my friends sent it to me. I didn't even know that, but I'm not surprised. But anyway, but it's all shame guilt. So that's why I take this up, because it's everything. It's school. It's religion.
Yeah.
Guilt is a virtue in the Catholicism. It's a virtue to have guilt.
Right.
And I was trained that way.
Right.
I mean, I've helped a lot of Christians become more faithful to God by dropping the guilt.
That is powerful.
Remember, guilt is the lowest vibration.
Yeah.
How can you achieve intelligence? How can you be a functionally humanitarian? How can you love others? How can you be with God? How can you be with Christ? If you're in the lowest vibration that is possible to stay alive.
No, you can't. You can be. Here's what I. When you say that, my internal says you can't, but you can be controlled. You can't be connected to God. You can't be powerful. You can't be free, but you can be controlled if you're in shame guilt.
You are controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I love David Hawkins' map of consciousness. He's not with us. He's in heaven somewhere. And the people that have taken care of his works are very they want to keep it, in his name and everything. So I make sure that we give David Hawkins that accolades, because he makes my work so much easier.
Yeah, that chart that I have is amazing. I can't show it because these lights don't show it, but if you're listening, look up Math of Consciousness chart.
David Hawkins.
Yeah, David Hawkins. And it's a brilliant chart. It's really simple to look at. And I brought on, just so you know, I have two pastors that I brought on to the show. I'm talking to one of them right after this. And so I think it's a nice compliment. I learn sometimes as we go, like when I do these events, the experts that come together, I don't always know why in the beginning. And then like, as the series starts to unfold, I start to see it. So the guy I'm talking to today grew up heavily religious as well. And sort of rose above the shame guilt, if you will, and coaches in a similar way, and has a different perspective. Anyway, that just kind of clicked for me.
See, you always knew, like me. You just know, right?
You just know, yeah.
You just know. It just is. It isn't like you went to school to know.
Right.
You know. So we're all endowed with this beautiful, humanity is just, we're just enlightened beings. But we're down to 2, maybe 3 DNA, 64 DNA strands. We should have 64 DNA strands. And we're down to 2 to 4. That's how far we've fallen.
Wow.
And that's why we are easy prey.
Right. We're easy prey is a good way to put it.
Prey. We're easy prey because we are vibrating at such a low level.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
But we can change that.
Yes, we can.
And we can just
we are changing it. And
Yeah,
we're
because
changing it right
I'm
now.
Good Film says, no, no, that's it. You can say no and it goes away because it has to. No, because you detected it. No, but you still have to do your work. It isn't that easy, but that's the first response.
Right.
No.
Lois, this has been epic. So I'll say this, I'll link the gift so people can go grab the gift and hop on your newsletter. I'll probably do the same actually, because I would like to see those questions that you wrote out. And then again, if you're watching, look up The Math of Consciousness, David Hawkins,
And my films.
and
my
then the
films.
2 films. Yeah, both films. I'm Good, and then the Discord.
Out of Discord into Harmony. And
Out
that
of-
kids love that one.
Okay,
They love
we can link all that. It's on your website. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. I also have a call to action URL that has everything in it. So
Okay.
you may just want to do that call to action.
You let me know if you want me to switch it. I have the link that I have. We'll figure it out offline, but oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Lois Hollis / call to action. So perfect.
Yeah, just put the link in it. It has everything.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's on it at this point. It just keeps growing.
Lois, you're a rock star. I'm super glad that we got to do this. I know that
And
it's
keep in
opened
touch.
something up. I will.
Keep in touch.
Yeah, I will keep in touch. You do the same. And for the audience, look, I know if you're watching at this point, I know something resonated for you, and this is the divine intervention, if you will. But now it's up to you to take action. So before you jump to the next thing, go grab the gift and dive in. Read one piece. I'd imagine that whatever you read from Lois, it's going to shift exactly what needs to shift right now. So everybody at home, I'll see you soon. And Lois, thank you again so much.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.